Okay, close your eyes just for a moment and come along with me. I'll say one word and I want you to picture it inside your mind. You ready? Education. Now, I want you to visualize the purpose of education. Now, let me guess. You probably imagine a classroom with a blackboard and maybe a teacher waving a ruler and talking for maybe what might seem like forever, anxiously memorizing page after page before an exam, only to forget it all just when it's over. Being told to sit still when all you wanted to do was go outside.
How about the why? Why did we go to school? Why did our parents push us to get good grades? A good job? A high position? A big salary? A nice corner office?
Isn't it amazing, as different as we all are, no matter our age or where we come from, we all share the same exact experience of what education looks like and why we pursue it. But guess what? Somewhere along the way, we forgot what it's all about. We forgot the magic of learning and why it's an essential part of human experience.
Education was never meant to be about tests and grades. It was never meant to be a one-way exchange. It was not supposed to confine and restrict young minds. It was never about fitting into a narrow set of jobs.
It was about the human spirit. Education is that aha moment, you know, when the light shines bright in your mind and all of a sudden you see that, wow, everything is possible. And then you discover who you truly are and the world around you. And you gain the tools to live your fullest potential and change the future for the people and also for the planet.
For every crisis facing humanity today, the seeds of hope in solving them lie in shaping minds and hearts and equipping hands with the right tools. The root of our hopes for a prosperous and sustainable future is in rewiring education.
So, it is time we open our eyes and join our hands to be the generation to change the course of humanity. It's time that we rise to the moment and rewire education so that every single child and young person can discover who they were born to be.
It is time.
Ladies and gentlemen, esteemed heads of state, ministers, and distinguished guests, good morning and a very warm welcome to the Rewired Summit 2023. My name is Dara Latinwo, and it is my great pleasure and honor to serve as your host for what promises to be an immersive, informative, and inspirational day right here at the Connect Conference Center at the heart of the Green Zone during COP28. As hinted by the opening video, education is ripe for renewal. Thus, our gathering today represents a valuable opportunity to call upon your collective expertise and experience in service of this vital mission to radically rewire education. Given current education systems only harness a mere 35% of the value, talent, and potential nestled within each child, the gift of undiscovered human brilliance sits before all of us, quite literally unwrapped and untapped. Indeed, the environmental emergency that we face today is perhaps in part a product of the traditional education system's struggle to spark the breathtaking awe and appreciation for nature amongst our children and past generations. Abstract knowledge alone of our climate challenge has not and will not save us or the planet. Awareness must be anchored by action, which in turn is determined by decisions. With its ability to shape the minds and thus decisions that drive action in the world, education stands uniquely positioned to steer our civilization towards greater environmental enlightenment. Spanning 4 core focus areas of the green economy, financing, technology, and of course, people, the 35 breakout sessions of this summit aim to radically reframe and reimagine education for our unfolding 21st century. We hope, therefore, that these sessions serve as forums for each one of you to devise, debate, and post-summit, deliver new strategies and solutions with the unexpected allies that you encounter during the course of today. So, to expand upon this potential that education has to realize the desired future that we all want, it is my great pleasure, and I am truly delighted, to invite to the stage Her Excellency Reem Al-Hashimi, UAE Minister of State for International Cooperation and Chairwoman of Dubai Cares, to share her opening remarks with all of us. Please all join me in giving her a very generous welcome.
Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. Good morning, everybody. Today marks the 2nd edition of the Rewired Summit. It's been exactly 2 years since we all gathered here for the inaugural edition of Rewired. At that time, we were at the height of the pandemic. The sense of urgency and commitment to address the global learning crisis still brought thousands of us together to chart a new path forward towards a prosperous and more sustainable future for all. A key outcome of that first summit was the collective recognition that business as usual will not work anymore. You detected that in the video that we just saw. Because as long as we keep education confined within outdated, unambitious, and broken systems, we will continue to be locked in a vicious cycle, where for every step forward we take, another pandemic, another disaster, another conflict will set us right back again, if not even further away, from our goals for both people as well as planet. The only way forward is to recognize that the pathway to meaningful progress towards 2030 and beyond must be through positioning education at the core of every single sustainable development goal. As the host of COP28, we truly embraced the opportunity to reinforce education as one of the key solutions to climate ambitions. This day in particular, a full day dedicated to global education, is a first, believe it or not, amongst previous COPs, and truly does allow us to place a much needed spotlight on an important principle. A green economy runs on green jobs that rely on green skills, which are taught in schools. Where education goes, the economy will follow. Outdated education systems work towards ill-fitting learning outcomes that no longer align with the reality of the world around us. How many kids have we heard of, or data have we searched through that demonstrate that a child has been able to get through an education system but is ill-equipped to hold a single job? Green economies, therefore, depend on climate literacy and sustainability, which can only come through in a curriculum that is conscious and aware of these new dynamics. But even more than that, the well-being and longevity of our shared planet, our common future, is really down to all of us. which means that we need to ensure that everyone, all children and all youth, not only learn about sustainability in schools, but that our education system is defined by it. This is why we've had approximately 7,000 children from across the UAE visit Expo City Dubai during COP28 every day. This experience will shape not only their understanding of the choices that we as grown-ups make, but also the agency that they possess to learn and become the architects of the planet that they will inherit. And so whether through this Rewired Summit or through the Greening Education Hub right around the corner, I hope that you too are shaped by this moment and help rewire education systems at large so that in the not so distant future, green skills become just skills and all jobs are green jobs. Before I close, I want to underscore the sense of gratitude and partnership that we have for all of the stakeholders here in the room today. You have been with us from the very beginning of the inception of Dubai Cares, but also through many obstacles along the way. We've learned with you and from you, and together, I think we have all grown together. And a special thank you to the team at Dubai Cares as well. Thank you all for your time and attention.
Many thanks, Your Excellency, for that incisive speech that so compellingly set the scene for the day that is to come and discussing the very key importance of education in terms of taking us forward. To complement the powerful points of Her Excellency, we now turn to another world leader that has tirelessly highlighted climate change and its devastating impact on education. Former UK Prime Minister Gordon Brown joins us now via video message to give voice to the stark realities facing those on the front lines of climate change and conflict.
Dubai Cares, under the leadership of Tariq Gurg, has played a critical role in furthering the cause of education through the Rewired Summit. And it is to Dubai Care's credit that they are leading worldwide in their concern about the connection between the climate change that we are facing and the denial of educational opportunity. An understanding that unless we act through Education Cannot Wait and other educational agencies, droughts, floods, firestorms, cyclones, and other climate events are going to forcibly displace many more millions of children and adults, and in particular deny children their right to education. Now, in total, already 62 million children of the 224 displaced children and young people are losing out because of climate, robbed of the right to learn, the right to play, the right to feel safe and secure because of these worsening climate disasters. More children are now displaced through climate change than through conflict. But of course, in many cases, it is both climate change and armed conflict that conspire together to make it impossible for children to go to school or to complete their education. These children are part of the many millions who are victims of rising seas, spiking temperatures, and ever more severe droughts, floods, and natural hazards. From the Horn of Africa and the Sahel and Chad, Sudan, and Nigeria too, to Pakistan, Syria, Bangladesh, and other countries where climate change is ripping our world apart. As Dubai Care argues, the right to education is an essential component in delivering on the promises and commitments outlined in the Paris Agreement, the Framework for Disaster Risk Reduction, and of course the Sustainable Development Goals. And at COP28, resources should be earmarked to educational agencies, including Education Cannot Wait, which I chair, to deal with the fallout from forcible displacement of children, so that they can resume their schooling. And I applaud the noble endeavors of Dubai Cares at this great summit through the reconvening of the Rewired Summit in Dubai to make children's opportunities the center of our attention and to make sure that climate change does not lead to the denial of the rights of children. Thank you very much.
Getting worse out there, isn't it? But I'm glad you are safe.
Can we pick up where we left off yesterday, Grandpa? You were going to teach me something new.
Yes, I did promise to tell you about a time. There was a time when clean air filled our lungs. Flowers had the sweetest scent, and birds sang in choirs. I used to eat apples straight from the garden, quench my thirst with fresh spring water. On cool summer nights, I would lie outside and gaze at the stars, dreaming about what I would become when I grew up. Little did I know then.
No, what exactly, Grandpa?
No, not to take this beautiful planet of ours for granted. Know that uncontrolled development would come at a price. When we overpopulated the Earth and started to consume more than we needed, we destroyed ecosystems and endangered entire species in the name of growth. We ignored the science even when it was loud and clear.
But, Grandpa, how could anyone ignore all of this?
Not everyone did. Some people did change their ways. Global goals and climate agreements were made. But the talk didn't turn into action fast enough. We were the generation that had a choice. But we decided to leave it to the next one to save us.
But how? And why?
We were looking for complex solutions to complex problems. And all the while, the answer was right in front of us. Education. Education that goes beyond knowledge. Education that inspires values, skills, and the purpose to save our world.
This cannot be my future. It doesn't need to be anyone's future. You cannot wait for the next generation to save you. You have to be the change.
That, ladies and gentlemen, is the future we are fighting to avert. To refresh and reinvigorate our collective morale after that dystopian vision, it is my great pleasure to welcome to the stage His Excellency Dr. Tariq Al-Gurg, Chief Executive Officer and Vice Chairman of Baisalov and host of Rewired Summit 2023. Your Excellency, the stage is yours.
One second, let me take my mask off. Excellencies, honorable ministers, friends, a very good morning to you all. Now, we made it, and we made it really to the bone. No one was expecting education to be at the heart of any climate agenda, and we're here, and we're going to take it forward to other heights, inshallah. And it is nice to see all of you again after exactly 2 years, as my boss mentioned. Since the first edition of the Rewired Summit, we have worked hard to follow through on the core commitment that we made to elevate education's role as the most powerful enabler of progress and the most valuable opportunity for human development. This meant that we needed to bring education to the heart of all the challenges humanity faces today and leverage its potential as the backbone of solutions. And today, we came together to meet on one of the most pressing challenges of our current time, which, if we do nothing about, will affect the future of people and planet, and that is the climate challenge. We knew that the road ahead of us was not easy, yet the difficulty did not soften our resolve. Following the inauguration edition of the Rewired Summit, we set to work on a bold new plan to bring education to the forefront of global agendas and national priorities. The first step in breaking old systems was to shift the mindsets of all stakeholders, whether parents or ministers, students or teachers, or many others. We were determined to demonstrate in concrete terms that investments in education transformation from an ecosystem perspective is an investment in the future that will pave the way and pay off concretely for all countries. We outlined 6 win-win solutions, if you remember, as priorities that put rewiring education at the heart of other global goals, in particular terms, the most pressing of which was the climate education nexus. And we recognized that this cannot be achieved through disjointed efforts to change education systems in some countries and not changing them in many countries, but rather through a complete transformation of education systems from a whole of society approach, from a whole of society ecosystem approach, and built on cross-sectoral collaboration. This kind of systems change is not a theoretical exercise, nor a luxury for the privileged few countries and communities. It is a necessity as fundamental as food, water, and security for any country that hopes to lead its people towards ambitious future. But the road to this moment has been long and difficult, and we had anticipated many challenges that would come our way. We were ready to fight hard, to advocate for education transformation as the solution to climate action. And we were ready to fight for education to have its rightful place in all climate negotiations. But let me tell you, those were not our biggest challenges. The most difficult battle we faced was that of partnership within our own sector. I wish I could say that the last year and a half was really a group effort built on true partnerships. From the first Rewired Summit to the Transforming Education Summit, we heard grand speeches about the need for cooperation for multiple entities. This was also reflected and emphasized in the words of the UN Deputy Secretary General, Ms. Amina Mohammed, whom we will hear from later on today, as she said, "It is time for the international community to find new ways to work together." And I wish I could say that in between the tests and this summit, we truly came together in the spirit of unity and commitment to a shared ambition. What we discovered is that our sector is as broken as the education systems we are trying to fix, if not more. That we are not united by our own common goals for children and youth. but rather deeply divided by institutional agendas that prioritize positioning over the greater good and the preservation of the status quo over meaningful progress led by those who dare to think and act differently. I am personally devastated by the void in leadership by the very institutions whose full mandates put education at the center, and the lack of willingness to break the silos in order to work together hand in hand as a united family. While they talk about partnerships, they never pave the way for that walk. Promise after promise, speech after speech, and yet the divides get wider and the focus narrower in the pursuit of individual agendas. And the result? 1 billion children and young people who will go through life forever at the mercy of crisis. No education, no jobs, no hopes for a better tomorrow. But I say no more. No more waiting for the leaders of the sector to rise to the challenge. No more waiting for hearts to rise above the silos. No more waiting for minds to prioritize people and planet over the pursuit of positioning. No more waiting for meaningful results. No more empty promises. I refuse to accept the false narrative that change cannot be done quickly. I refuse to accept that though we are only 7 years away, we speak and act as if 2030 will come and go and nothing can be done. The time for talking is over. It is now time to roll our sleeves and do it ourselves. So today, you will see hundreds of solutions that touch on every piece of the puzzle. Early childhood development, school health and nutrition, digital connectivity, skilling, gender and inclusion, indigenous knowledge, policy, financing, volunteering, and so much more. And I want to bring to your attention that Dubai Cares has not only hosted the second edition of the Rewired Summit at COP28 as a flagship event, based on the promise we gave, but on the 2nd of December, just a few days ago, and at the heart of the COP28 presidency program in the Blue Zone, and in partnership with the Aga Khan Foundation, we launched the first ever global education accelerator with the ambition of rewiring education systems in 10 countries by 2030 and impacting the lives of 2.1 billion people, and this is just the start. Through this accelerator, we will be able to move beyond the typical barriers, to respond directly to countries' needs and support them as they pursue their national ambitions through education. And we will do so in less time than any other existing mechanism. The accelerator will put human beings back at the center of thinking and doing, whether they are children or youth, teachers or parents, principals or policymakers, or many, many other more. Our goal is to empower and include all actors in the ways that they need as articulated by themselves to real partners, to foundations, without hidden agendas or selfish pursuits, coming together for 2.1 billion people. And it is this that gives me a morning buzz every day when I wake up and go to work, and tremendous hope that strengthens me and my commitment even more. And in spite of everything we have witnessed, I believe today, more than ever, that we will be the generation that changes everything. In the same way that we promised you to bring education to the heart of the COP, I stand here today promising you that the next time we convene, we will not be talking about what needs to be done. We will be celebrating progress beyond what we have ever achieved, and we will be setting our eyes on even bigger ambitions. We will not rest until every child and young person reaches their full human potential. You are either with us on this journey or not. You can either make history with us or simply be a bystander watching us from the sidelines. And regardless of where you stand, the future of education starts here. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Your Excellency, for that rousing speech about the transformation journey that is needed right now for our global education systems. And I'm sure I speak for all when I say we've been refueled with new energy for that journey. As our first breakout session approaches, we would like to offer you a small preview of what you can expect from these engaging and interactive sessions. As such, it is my true delight to welcome to the stage our first panel session. This discussion will be moderated by Dr. Andrew Cunningham, who is the lead for global education at the Aga Khan Foundation. Please join me welcoming them to the stage.
And 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. You can take mine.
Correct. But can we?
Thank you very much. My name is, you know what, I'm a fifth grader. I'm just going to speak a little bit louder. And I'm back. Great. My name is Andrew Cunningham. I'm the global lead of education at the Aga Khan Foundation, and it is my distinct privilege and pleasure to be welcoming you all as a family to the first ever Education Day at the Conference of Parties. I first, though, want to introduce you to a very special group of constituencies. The COP is all about negotiators. And I would like to introduce you to the chief negotiators of the intersection between climate and education. If you are a member of the Teachers for the Planet, or an educator in the room, or a young person who is still in school, or a young person at heart who is still learning, please stand up. Outstanding. You are the chief negotiators of today. Give yourselves a round of applause. And with that, it is my distinct pleasure to now welcome you to the first panel of the day to really get to grips with what we mean by the intersections of climate and education. So can you please join me in welcoming to the stage His Excellency, the Minister of Portugal, Professor João Costa, to the stage. Thank you very much. Is this, oh. Thank you very much. Next, it is my privilege to welcome to the stage His Excellency, the Deputy Chairman of the Cabinet of Ministers of the Kyrgyz Republic, His Excellency Edil Baisalov. Thank you. And it's my distinct pleasure, I think we've all seen her on the social media. She is the face of the now and the urgency of why we need to be doing things differently in education. Miss Yasmine Sherif, the CEO of Education Cannot Wait. And finally, who gave us the rousing introduction and the rousing ambition that we need to climb to new heights together, His Excellency Tariq Gurg, the CEO and Vice Chairman of Dubai Cares. So here's what we know in climate and education. 3 big facts. Wow, 3 big facts.
Yeah, I told them to lower that, but they don't listen.
I feel like it's like a boost. I like it. I like it. First, half of the world's school curricula do not mention climate. Second, 95% of teachers, when surveyed, want to teach about climate, but only 1/3 of them have the confidence to do so. And most strikingly, 70% of young people around the world report that they are not prepared to engage in what is needed to be a climate-resilient generation from what they are learning in the formal schooling systems. So, to my esteemed panelists, The question is simple, but I imagine the answer is profound. What should we be doing differently in climate and education? Why is it important for COP28? And what are each one of you doing to set the priorities in a new direction for all of us to follow? I'd like to begin with His Excellency, Minister Professor João Costa from Portugal. Over to you.
Thank you, Andy. Good morning, everyone. It's a great pleasure to be here. Thank you to Dubai Cares and the Aga Khan for the invitation. Well, education is about intentionality. So we have to know why we educate young people and what for. And so if we know, we always say that we are preparing the youngsters for the future, but we're actually preparing people for the present. And we know the present is challenged with the climate change issues, the global warming, and so we have to teach about that. And in Portugal, we developed a national strategy for citizenship education, and we had the opportunity to share about this in Porto at the Schools 2030 Global Forum. And one of the areas in citizenship education is environmental education, and the other one is sustainability. So it is part of our formal curriculum these days. It's built on a project-based approach. So children and youngsters are invited to develop projects, active projects about climate change and about sustainability. And it's about a holistic approach to education. So this is also about empathy and diversity and knowing that we have to live together in the world, and that this is about all of us and not the problem of someone who's very far away in the planet.
Thank you very much. And Portugal is one of the first 10 countries in the Global Education Solutions Accelerator, so congratulations and thank you for being with us. I'd like to now move to His Excellency Edil Baisalov. What is your vision for doing things differently for climate and education, and why is it so important for today's discussion?
Thank you.
Could you pass the microphone, João?
Thank you very much. I'd like to also welcome all the participants, Excellencies, Minister Hashimi, of course, Dr. Gurg, and everyone. We are here at this. I cannot believe that previous COPs didn't include a segment on education, and congratulations to the UAE presidency for making sure that we are speaking about education. Climate change is real. Climate change is finally arrived in all of our minds. I mean, we in Kyrgyzstan, when we were in our first years of independence and then struggle with national development and other things, we experienced it real time this year when all countries of Central Asia, we saw the drought, and when we used to read about climate change, we all said, okay, well, by 2050, it will come down by 1%, 2%, and by 2100, it will somehow, well, we'll see if our grandchildren. But actually, it turns out that those rivers that were full flown, and this year, next year, they are just dry. That's what we saw, and of course, this has really delivered the message that we are part of this humanity. We share this planet, and our fate is truly common. And therefore, I actually would like to tell you that at this COP, we are working, Kyrgyzstan is working on mountain and glaciers agenda, and this afternoon there will be several meetings, and I know that I'm scheduled at 2 more panels, but I will have to
we will squeeze you, Your Excellency.
Take time for the national delegations. But anyways, we can talk about curriculum integration, of course. We can talk about, of course, teacher training and resources. And we are very happy to be part of this consortium of the 10 countries. And under the leadership of Dubai Cares and Aga Khan Foundation, we hope that we will develop those resources and put them into the hands of our teachers. But it is, of course, takes leadership. It takes leadership by our heads of state. Our president, His Excellency Sadr Japarov, addressed recently Youth Forum, and of course he said that we all very excited for the use of this world, and we all think that you will live in this world of artificial intelligence and robots and all kinds of exciting technologies. But actually, of course, we are sorry for you, because this world that you are inheriting will be much harsher, and you will have to adapt and you will have to learn new ways. But I'd like to say to second Minister João Costa in saying that it's, of course, it's not about the future, it's about the present. And us as school parents, we have to know that the students, the school students, are the best influencers of patterns of their parents. Therefore, it's not about only teaching the skills and the new knowledge and patterns of behavior for the future, but I think we are school children. We can influence and reach all the families and all the adults and all the parents who need to change their behavior of transport, the energy, water, all kinds of lifestyle choices. We can influence them via their children. And I think that we need to act. This is very urgent, and education is not only about future, it's about today.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much. And it's extraordinary that Minister Costa hosted the Schools 2030 Global Forum in Porto, in the oceans, and do you also have an announcement?
Absolutely. I'd like to take this opportunity and invite all the ministers and colleagues to come next June, where we will be taking the baton from Portugal, and we will be hosting the second Schools 2030 education conference. We look forward to hosting you all in Bishkek next June.
I'm the first one in.
Thank you. Thank you very much. And what's extraordinary is that the whole government approach is represented by your office. You oversee the cabinet of ministers. And that kind of acceleration in the multi-thematic approach is also what is exciting about the potential ahead. And the theme of the Schools 2030 Global Forum in the Kyrgyz Republic is teacher leadership for climate resilience. So bringing the chief negotiators up to the center stage. I now want to go to the very important, but also at times devastating equation that we are watching play over and over and over again. And it's the effect of climate on disrupting education. As the head of Education Cannot Wait, what should we be doing differently for climate and education? And what are your priorities for us to join you in making that impact now?
Thank you very much. I don't need a microphone. I have a loud voice anyway, so it's okay. First of all, I would like to thank Her Excellency Reem Hashimi. Thank you so very much for having us here and for all the support you provide us. I also would like to thank my brother, Dr. Tariq and Gurg, for the great support and the foundation of Education Cannot Wait. You were there from the beginning, and continue with passion. And we are very proud to be your partner at Education Cannot Wait. And again, of course, to you, Aga Khan Foundation. Great respect for you. As you know, I used to work with Prince Aldin Aga Khan. That's how I joined the United Nations. With his nephew, Karim Aga Khan, that created Aga Khan Foundation. Now, I would give 3 points. 4 points actually, as to why we need to act on education and link it to climate change now. First of all, when you think about it, we've been speaking about climate change, as if it was an anonymous entity sector without human beings. Yes, we invest in climate change, but there's no humanity there. There are no children, there's no youth, there are no adolescents, there are no human beings. Yeah, we can go here to create a great planet without humanity. If we continue in this way, of course, we will have annihilated by that time. We need to link climate change to human beings. And where do we start? We start with the foundation of any society, the children and adolescents and their education. And I love that short movie. What an incredible movie that was, because it really imagined what the future could look like. And I was really taken away by the words that we have We need an education that also looks into the purpose of life. Why are we here? Values, virtues, ethics. How do we treat Mother Earth? And how do we treat each other? So I think that was a brilliant movie. So the first is for all climate activists in this world, for all strategic donor partners, when you invest in climate change, make sure that you also invest in the children and the adolescents' education. It's the same when we deal with armed conflict. We don't go and invest in peace without investing in education. The same goes for climate change. We don't invest in climate change without investing in education for the future, here and now. The second point is, as I said, it's right here and right now. Cannot just be for the future. When I spoke with the youth the other day, they said we cannot wait. It's now. We want change now. We don't want the rhetoric of promises. We've been promising things, as far as I'm concerned, we've been promising things since we created the UN Charter. And still we are further away as ever from that. It's about action and intent to action. So we need to listen to the youth. And I personally believe that the youth still have this visionary idealism, fearlessness that many of us adopt as we grow older. So I would say my trust lies with the youth. And then it lies with all of us who are no longer youth, but have sustained that youth of courage, passion, and ethics in making the world a better place. And that comes through education. It starts at home with our parents. Yes. Education starts there. I think it's so easy to figure out what kind of education a person has when you meet with them or you see how they run the world. Were they brought up to have ethics and standards and respect for Mother Nature and humanity? Or were they just brought up to succeed without value? And I think this is important, that sense of responsibility for Mother Earth. And that's why education starts at home and it goes on at least until we are 18. And in this regard, I would like also, when we speak about right here and right now, and Gordon Brown, the UN Special Envoy for Global Education and the chair of the high-level steering group, who together with Dr. Tariq and Gurg created Education Cannot Wait. And there are other founders here, such as Honorable Irina Burkova was part of that back then, and so many more, that we need to be impatient. In the face of human suffering, in the face of the destruction of the planet, patience is not a virtue. So here we are, right here, right now. It's a call for $150 million to ensure that 2 million children who are in conflict and forced displacement and on top of it suffer climate disasters can get the education to change their circumstances, and that for all of us here and now. So for anyone who is concerned with climate disasters and education, this is very easy because we move with speed. We will make it happen tomorrow. For anyone who wonders, when the carnage broke out in Gaza, we were there with 3 weeks with psychosocial services and mental health. It's not about later, it's about now. Finally, I would like to say that we need to create sustainability. So when we rebuild schools, we have to rebuild them so that they withstand the shocks of future climate change. They don't get flooded. We have the cycles of flooding and drought. We see it in Chad, we see it in South Sudan, we see the cyclone in Zimbabwe. Schools and classrooms have to withstand the shocks. That's the infrastructure has to be built. We have to make sure to use solar system for technology, laptops, and so forth. And we also have to make sure when there's drought that there is clean drinking water. And then finally, the curriculum. I always come back to the curriculum because I think that is which is the heart of how we create the next generation and also how we respond today. It is what we learn and what we feel. And that comes with our education. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Yasmine. On December 2nd, we also had an amazing announcement of the future of climate financing, of the new partnership between the Global Partnership for Education and the Green Climate Fund in partnership with Save the Children Australia in leveraging a brand new source of $70 million to bring from the climate community into the education space. That is the innovative financing mechanisms, additionally with yours, that can really bring some much needed resources into this catalytic phase. Thank you very much, Yasmine. Your Excellency, Tariq, we heard your plea for doing things differently. I would love to hear your thoughts about what do you hope for this community to achieve differently today for the future of people and planet?
If we're talking about the education climate nexus, Andy, this cannot happen taking existing systems and patching it up with some climate stuff and think that we're going to solve the problem. We might solve a small equation, and probably that won't be even sustained. What we need to do is reform and transform our education systems, and while we're doing that, we embed a vertical towards climate into that system. We should ensure that every single stakeholder in society is involved into the talks. Yes, children, teachers, ministries of education, but what about companies? What about the private sector? Is the Ministry of Economy involved? Speaking to the private sector to see the future solutions that they're going to provide. We have to speak to all the stakeholders. And to be honest with you, yes, this has been the first COP to ever have education, thanks to Dubai Cares, with all pride. But you see, this is not sustainable. If the future COPs say, we've done it, we've ticked a box, and they don't embed education the way we did it here. I mean, I'm fortunate and I'm blessed because it's in my country. But next year and the year after and the year after that, it's not, well, I don't know about 29, but anyways, 30 is in Brazil. But it's not going to be. And it's that presidency which will determine what happens. So we are setting a presidential alarm. We're setting a pace that every single COP should have education as a main theme, as a full day, and this should be a benchmark. I don't want to see less. You see, we were in a small auditorium here, but I want a bigger auditorium there. We were a bit tight in this one, but we want a bigger one. We want our voices to go up, because I'll tell you one thing. To solve climate issues, you need to nurture the children of today, embed curricula with climate teaching, make them love climate, grow up, go to universities, have subjects on climate, get a super youth in the future understanding and love climate, so they can only work in climate and become climate experts. That young person will change it, not us. And how we can do that is to change the system today.
Thank you very much. So you've heard an extraordinary panel. You've heard from the schools. You've heard from the systems. You've heard from the societies. And you've heard how we can accelerate the collaboration and the different ways of engaging partnership and action together. So I leave you with 3 prompts and really calls to action. The first is, how might we make teaching the world's greatest green job, on which all other green jobs depend? Second, how might we leverage the power of education as the planetary strategy for climate mitigation and adaptation, not only in the NDCs, but, as mentioned today, in every COP moving forward? And finally, how might we actually get the love of nature back into our equation of climate and education and get it right? Which new innovations from young people and educators and our society could begin to soar and swell ourselves with a new sense of hope, ambition, leadership, and rewriting the story of what's possible for people and planet? On behalf of the 100 million teachers around the world, the billion students who are counting on us today, and the COP28 presidency and UAE government, thank you for setting the bar high, and we wish you all the very best for the next deliberations. Thank you.
You very much set the stage for your question.
Huge thanks to all of our powerful panel participants for that energetic discussion. I very much hope it has heightened your anticipation for the breakout sessions, which will allow each of you to engage in similar fashion on an array of different topics across the 4 focus areas. Before we venture out into the breakout segments of our choice, I am thrilled to be able to welcome to the stage Professor Jeffrey Sachs, who is the Director for the Center of Sustainable Development at Columbia University, who will share a few remarks drawing from his deep reservoir of knowledge. Please join me in welcoming Professor Jeffrey Sachs.
Tariq, we're with you. Thank you very much. I feel like the grandpa getting out of bed in the movie. I have 5 grandchildren, 4 granddaughters and a grandson, and we are thinking of them and the kind of world that they're going to have. Let me start with a goal that was set for the world, because actually, for a change, the governments got it right, and Irina Bokova was one of the reasons the governments got it right. This is a target that was set in 2015 for education. It's a target 4.7 of the Sustainable Development Goals. And for me, it remains the most important lodestar for where we should go. It says that by 2030, ensure that all learners acquire knowledge and skills needed to promote sustainable development, including, among others, through education for sustainable development and sustainable lifestyles, human rights, gender equality, promotion of a culture of peace and nonviolence, global citizenship, and appreciation of cultural diversity and culture's contribution to sustainable development. It's really a beautiful objective. It says that education should be a holistic undertaking in which we learn how to be human beings, good human beings. I don't really like exactly the framing of education for climate. It's not right, and it's too narrow. Education is for us to be good human beings with the technical skills and the human skills and the appreciation of knowledge and appreciation of the beauty of the world that can help us to lead good lives, to be cooperative, to be good citizens, to know the difference of proper behavior and committing genocide, something that my country doesn't understand at all, so something's gone terribly wrong in the education system. We've raised a bunch of people who have no understanding of culture, diversity, history, and so on. It's really amazing. And so I think our framing is really this one, which is that we're trying to help young people to, as Tariq said, to grow to their full potential. I think that there are 2 different challenges that we should understand in this. One is a very basic, almost mechanical problem. I just want to put it to you as an economist that has worried about this for 40 years. Poor countries cannot afford what we're talking about under the current international system. We could talk forever about all the things that should be done in education, but a poor country can't afford to do anything that we're talking about. I happened to meet this morning with a wonderful minister of education of a low-income country, and he told me that the average school size in his country is 60 students per teacher, that the enrollment rates in secondary school is about 50%, the completion rate's about 30%. It's a poor country. He's a wonderful minister. He's got a fantastic national leader. They devote more than 20% of the national budget to education. They do everything they're supposed to do, but it's poverty. And the rich countries don't care so far. There's no institutional answer. And we give not right answers. I have to say, even for education for weight, it's not right an appeal for $150 million for 2 million children. That's $75. That's not possible as an answer. And just understand, $150 million is 1 hour of Pentagon spending. We have to get the magnitudes right. I've spent 40 years with long division, basically. I'm an economist, so that means I know what a denominator is. The world is a $100 trillion world economy. The US is $27 trillion. I can't tell you how much greed that is. $27 trillion is a lot of money. It could solve all the world's problems easily. The whole US system was designed, by the way, this is another story, and I'd love to give a lecture about it, but it was designed in 1787 to protect rich people from poor people, because that was the philosophy of the British philosopher John Locke, which is private property above all. So, and James Madison was a great, brilliant follower of John Locke. So they protect the taxpayers, except we spend $1 trillion on the military, and as I said, $2 million a minute. So, you know, it's just completely wrong education. I've taught at the places that teach imperial power. I taught at Harvard for more than 20 years, and I studied at Harvard. I know what it means to teach empire. It's the wrong teaching. It's the wrong understanding. It leads to a complete mess. So the first issue is finance, which is half the world can't do what we're talking about unless we rethink this. And just, again, a footnote, because I know that I've already exceeded my time. Education, aside from everything else, aside from being the most important way to empower a person to have a good life, is actually a very high financial return for society. It beats any unicorn startup. It beats any tech company. It's a compound interest return of about 22% per year over a 40-year period. It's a damn good investment, but poor countries are not creditworthy, so they can't cash in on that investment without a rejiggering of the institutional financial architecture. So the first thing I want to say to Dubai Cares and to Rewired is that we rewire the financing so that what we're talking about can be done for the half the planet that can't do it on its own. That's, I think, basic. I think I know how to do it. I think that this is feasible. I complain all the time about the IMF and the World Bank, but I have a right to. It's mostly my students in there that are not doing what I told them in class. So I'm threatening to take away their degrees unless they start getting this right. That's the first point. Now, the second point is if we have the resources, then we have to think about what is the learning. I personally don't like the idea that the learning is what young people want it to be. I'm an old person. I want to tell them a bit about what it should be. That's what I think is really true, that we share wisdom across generations. I really like an ancient Greek idea called paideia. Paideia was the idea of what a good Greek citizen with virtue should bring to the polis, to the city. This was the concept of Aristotle in Book 8 of the Politics. It was a concept of Plato. It was a concept that the paideia is what you train for civic virtue. And it's both intellectual knowledge and it's moral knowledge. And it is a guidance. Now, the paideia would have been lost but for a remarkable contribution of the Arab world, which kept this knowledge fundamentally alive. When the Roman Empire collapsed in the West and the Christian emperors closed down Plato's Academy in 529, and they dispersed the learning of the paideia. Who kept all of this alive and then improved on it? Of course, it was the great House of Islam, and it was the House of Wisdom in particular in Baghdad, which became the greatest library of the world and the place that brought together the wisdom of the paideia, the wisdom of the Latins, the wisdom of the East, the wisdom of the newly emerging Muslim world. And the House of Wisdom was the greatest center of learning in the world. And it gave us Avicenna, it gave us Averroes, it gave us Al-Farabi, it gave us all of the greatest wisdom, without which, by the way, no Renaissance in Europe, no propagation of and extension of cosmology, of astronomy, of mathematics, none of it without all of that knowledge. And so I think what we have here is the creation of a new House of Wisdom, if I may say so. The leadership in the Emirates is exemplary. It calls us each year for World Government Summit. It calls us for education. It calls us for an exposition about world technologies. We're walking through every day this remarkable achievement of Minister Reem Hashimi, and I can say we're so proud she did learn at Harvard, part that not all, well, a bit. She took the best parts, I would say, clearly. But I think what we're after is a new paideia for the 21st century. And I know that with your leadership, Tariq, and with Dubai Cares, and with the championship of all of the great leaders here, and I want to pay tribute again to Irina Bokova, who led UNESCO so beautifully. And I do believe UNESCO is our greatest hope for bringing together a world of education, science, and culture, and that we should treasure that. And I thank you for your great leadership. We are with you, Tariq. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Professor Sachs, for that thought-provoking message, which I think is very much an education for all of us this morning, especially with those stunning statistics. 22% return on investment from education. Ministers in the room, please do take note. And especially that statistic, $150 million is only an hour of Pentagon spending, and yet that is all we are giving to 200 million plus children. Ladies and gentlemen, we are almost at the end of the opening segment. But before we get ready to leap energetically into our breakout sessions, I would like to invite His Excellency, Dr. Tariq Al-Gurg, back to the stage for a very special and important announcement.
I don't know, does it work? I don't know. I mean, Charles and Yasmine, let's see if it works. Can you come on stage, please? Charles North, the Chief Operating Officer of GPE, representing the CEO of GPE. You come to my left, sir. We'll keep women to my right. Representing Laura Frigenti, and Yasmine Sherif, representing herself, of course, the Head of Education Cannot Wait. I'm here just to mention that I apologize to everyone that we will not be able to continue with the Rewired Summit as it is, because I'm spinning it off to become an independent, standalone, global platform with a global board headed by 3 co-chairs, yours truly, Yasmine Sherif, and Laura Frigenti, CEO of GPE. Charles North is representing her. And you will see the next edition of the Rewired Summit as a game changer to everything. And we will be announcing this new global board very soon, just before February, hopefully. So congratulations. Rewired Summit is really standalone, independent, international, no Dubai cares.
Wow. Huge thanks to His Excellency for that amazing announcement, which forms the brilliant backdrop to our upcoming breakout sessions. Ladies and gentlemen, before you all rush off, allow me to remind you that the breakout sessions will be taking place here in this auditorium and in 4 other halls. You may refer to the event program for more details. There will be assistants around the area to guide you to the right place. I look forward to seeing everyone here back at 6 p.m.
Yes.
Okay. So I hope you all enjoy your breakout sessions, and we look forward to your return later back in this auditorium. Thank you so much, and enjoy the rest of your day. Oh, wow.